to kind of push on each other's boundaries a little bit and try to have relationships in our lives where we can be that intimate and drop into that kind of depth. And when someone says to you, how are you? You can honestly sit and tell them, because that might start that conversation where you're able to share with them, I need help. I'm not doing well at all.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And thanks for bringing that up, because, we oftentimes just casually ask, like, hey, how are you? And before the other person even replies, we're already speaking about whatever it is that we need to tend to, or the business that we have to do with, and I think it really brings us back and stops us, and makes us really value the other person's time and words when they actually really tell you how they're feeling. It's like, wow, okay. And that feeling of maybe I'm not alone, or wow, that person trusts me enough to, be vulnerable with me.
Yeah. And that's how I feel like I know that I have an actual, true, real relationship with this individual, when I know I can talk in those ways to them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, that's kind of like a blessing in disguise with being on lockdown right now. I find myself that I'm reaching out to family and friends that normally I wouldn't talk to on such a regular basis. And it's really made me reflect and think wow, I really thought I was so busy just doing just the busy day-to-day work, of life. And when it was just, it's just not the real stuff of life. The real stuff of life is our interpersonal relationships. And I feel definitely I've grown mine during these times.
I love hearing that, because that's my working definition, or one of my definitions of mental health, is having solid relationships that can allow for that. And I love what you just said. This time where we're self-isolating, it's allowing us to really check in on the health and the depth of the relationship we have with those around us. And not to shame that. I want our listeners to know that if you're realizing I don't have those kinds of friends in my life, take this time to build those, or to, like I said, push on those boundaries and go deeper with those people that are around you.
Yeah. Yeah, oftentimes, for me personally, I've learned something really important about my behavior, since we've been on lockdown, is that it's hard for me to pick up the phone and reach out to a friend that I haven't spoken to in a while, because I feel like I don't want to bug them, right? I don't want to bother them. And when I actually push myself to make that call, or connect with FaceTime, I realize I'm not bothering them. That was just as awesome, for them too. And you really get what you give. And I really love that I've connected with that part of life again, and with people, back before there were iPhones, we used to, have to actually sit on our landline and talk to people, but that's what we did. And,
some people don't know what you're talking about right now.
I know. I just totally dated myself.
What's a landline, they're saying. But yeah, we used to have to, it was a different experience. We had to actually listen. We actually picked up the phone. We just fire off these texts.
Right.
But again, the beauty of having those friends that will share openly, it lets you know that we can go back to them when we need to share openly, because so many people present as though they are doing well and all is fine. And if we don't actually stop and say, how are you? How is your mental health? And that's why I try to use that word. How is your mental health? It's so direct. It lets them know that it's something that's important to you to know about, to hear about.
I agree. I love that too. I think I'm going to steal that from you.
Please.
Yeah, because it is very direct, but it's very compassionate and caring. And I feel like it'll generate authenticity from the person you're speaking to.
Absolutely. Can we talk a little bit about the impact on mental health of gender? I know that often in our culture, people that are male presenting, male identified, it can be harder for them to feel like it's safe or acceptable to show weakness or vulnerability or sadness. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a woman, so I can't identify directly with that, but I'm raising a young man, and my stepsons are men now, and I've always done all I could to tell them to embrace their emotions. And my youngest son, he's always been so sweet. He was the little kid that would like walk out of a movie if the Spider-Man movie was too violent. And I've always told him, never lose your sweetness, because I realize that in our society we just try to tell men like to toughen up or to take it, and it's not the message we should be sending by any means. I'm not a mental health professional by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm a mom, and I know, I know how I would like my son to be, and how, I want them all to feel comfortable with their emotions, and it's okay.
Yeah. And like we were saying earlier, it's okay. It's important for us to be able to tap into what we're feeling and express that, but it's also just part of being in a healthy relationship, being known on that level.
Right.
So what work do we need to do to start to really destigmatize and normalize talking about mental health?
Well, I think you just said it. I think that we need to talk about it. I think that we need to just have the conversation. I think, interviews like this, people using their platforms as much as they can on social media or, traditional media, anything, any way possible, just to spread the word that, that we're all of the human state of mind.
Yeah. And let's talk about music, the impact music can have. How can music, do you think, help us with our mental health? I mean, it's such a powerful force. It plays such an integral role to so many people's lives. I know your life has been completely surrounded by music. What responsibility do you think music has, or what role can music play?
Well, I think music plays such a huge role in so many ways for everybody. It's a very personal experience, I think. And, a song can often like lift my mood or make me feel sad again or make me remember something. And I think that's so powerful. I mean, I don't really know many other things that can really trigger, the depths of your emotions.
Yeah, music is such a beautiful companion, and it can often lift us or drop us deeper. It can also sometimes, I think, for some people, just be a form of self-care, where they just disconnect from the world and connect to music.
For sure. I mean, oftentimes, you hear how the words of a song connected with somebody and helped them get through a moment. I think that's like, those stories are so beautiful to hear, that somebody out there like wrote something from their heart and had the guts to actually like make that public, and then for it to help somebody else all the way across the world is just one of the most beautiful things. It's so powerful, and the importance of music in our lives can never be understated.
Wow. And so true, because, your late husband, Chester Bennington, I am and was a huge fan, and he often wrote music that did that for me, where I couldn't put into words an experience I was having or struggling with, and his music did that for me, made me feel less alone, gave me languaging. I mean, what a powerful tool that can be.
Oh, absolutely. I would oftentimes ask him what the lyrics like were about. Like, what experience, or did you write that about, this or that? And he would just say, I just wrote it. It's going to connect with whoever listens to it, however they need to connect to it. And I always thought that was super special. And he would never talk about, like, where songs came from like that. He would never say, this is what this song means. Like, he would never box in his lyrics. Aside from like this song he wrote for our wedding, but like aside from that, like, he just wouldn't box it in, because he instinctively knew that by boxing in a song with what his definition of it would be might keep somebody out from connecting with it. And I just thought that was so amazing and so just powerfully aware.
Yeah, it speaks to his genius. And let's speak more to that. I mean, a song just came out, Sometimes by Gray Days, and digging deep, I learned that was something he wrote at 18. The lyrics to that?
Yeah.
Wow. He
did. Yeah, he did. The music always poured out of Chester. So, I wish like iPhones and voice memos were around when he was young, like how we have them now, because I think that we'd have a lot more insight as to how creative he was from, probably so much younger.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the release of the song. What does that mean for you personally?
Well, it personally, it makes me smile. I know that it was something really special to Chester, and that he wanted the Gray Days music out. He was really looking forward to re-recording it and playing some one-off gigs with his old bandmates, and the fact that Sean made the record come out and did it in such an authentic way it's just really heartwarming, and it does make me smile.
Oh, and again, his music obviously and the impact he's had on all of us lives on, but it's nice for the fans to have some new things released to just kind of give us something new to tap into, feel some new feelings. So we're always thankful that you're part of helping that process continue.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, I really hope that, the Gray Days music, touches people and helps them through any times they're having, or is part of, a happy memory of Chester. Maybe they can think of Chester being so young and being so passionate, even then, about what he was doing and singing and writing.
Beautiful. And let's talk for a second about what's coming up May 8th through the 10th, the 320 Festival. It's pretty comprehensive and well-rounded. Can you walk us through all the different elements and what to expect?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're really excited about it. The festival was supposed to be an outdoor, in-person event, but sadly, because the world is shut down, we've had to take it online. But again, I think it's a blessing in disguise, because so many people are just home, and they need some to be able to plug into any kind of topic surrounding mental health. And we have a wide variety of panels, educational panels. We have comedians, great speakers, social media influencers, musical performances, and it's 21 hours of programming, which is quite ambitious, but it's going to be put over 3 days, and there's a comprehensive schedule. If you go to 320festival.com, you can see the schedule and the lineup. So if you want to tune into the panel about parenting during teen years or with addiction, or you name it, we have so many different topics being discussed. You can tune in and get that opportunity to connect. I really just love the idea of it all.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, the work and the advocacy is just right there in the lineup, where you're normalizing, again, talking about addiction, mental health issues by just weaving them into an event that, centers music. Like that's the work right there.
Yeah. Originally, the idea came to me because I had been in touch with so many awesome mental health groups, nonprofits, other advocates, you name it. And I was just like, wow, time and time again, I saw that these resources, these amazing resources, didn't even know about each other. Maybe they were trying to do the same thing at the same time, and just connecting them would make what they're doing more impactful and more helpful. And then also with the people that need the help. I'm so often contacted by family or friends of friends for resources. And I was like, there has to be a way to bring, people and these resources together in a way that's not clinical. And my first thought was, you have to have music. Like
Yes.
that's just a
Yes.
great bridge.
Yes.
So, back to your point about music being impactful, this is another example of that.
Yeah, and so beautifully said, because I agree with you. It can feel as though there's so many resources, but yet, like yourself, I have a lot of people constantly reaching out from around the country with different needs, saying, where do I go? Who do I contact? And I think music not only is a great bridge, but it also normalizes. And for some people that aren't familiar with sobriety, mental health words, concepts, resources, like music is a safer entry point for them. It normalizes it from the door.
That's perfectly said too. Yeah, it is a very safe entry, isn't it? Because the songs that you may be listening to could be talking about really deep things, like important things. They could be, naming experiences, and someone could connect with that. And then, the great thing about the online festival is that they can connect with that, and they can literally just pick and choose who they want to hear speak and about what. And I think it's going to reach a lot more people than we'd ever dreamed of.
Beautiful. And, again, thank you for all you're doing. When I posted that you were going to be a guest on the show, I felt so honored, but also the responses that I got on my personal pages from people saying how inspired they were by you and your late husband's work was just further exciting for me. So thank you so much for both everything you're doing and also for your time. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to say thank you
Please.
right back. And, thanks for keeping the conversation going and being a part of this. You're doing great work.
Thank you. Talinda Bennington, have a great night. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
And that's what we're trying to do. We want both others to feel comfortable coming to us. We want to have access to individuals that we can go to. So again, the work is not just about connecting to your own feelings, which is so valuable and such an important starting point. It's about going to others, but also getting those around us comfortable hearing those terms and those concepts in those conversations, because that's what's going to destigmatize and normalize talking about mental health. And that's how we're going to collectively as a culture start to try to really improve individuals' mental health. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by sending your questions to #I'mListening, and of course, sliding into the DMs on our Loveline IG page. And before we close out, I do have a question or two I'm going to answer. This one came in and asked, whenever I try to vent to a certain friend, she always has to one-up me with bigger problems she's going through. What does that even mean? Does it mean she's a narcissist? Well, we don't want to diagnose our friends, and I don't like to diagnose from afar. It's all about care and compassion. I don't know what your friend is struggling with, and often that's what's going on, where a friend comes to us with a concern, and either it's triggering a concern of our own, or we're not in the most grounded place to hear them. Again, it's about a conversation. So I think in healthy, solid friendships, it's important that we reflect back to them what it is we need from them, what it's like to be in relationship and friendship with them. And hopefully, if they're healthy and loving, they're going to be willing to work on that with us. And I have one final question. And this one asks, my boyfriend says I get triggered too easily. And I sort of agree, I guess, because I am an emotional person and I let stuff get to me that I know I shouldn't. But how do I work on that? Beautiful question. So important. Our triggers are for us to learn about ourselves. When we get triggered, it's for us to better understand where our work is. So if you're triggered around something, that's a sign that you need to work on that. It's not for us to use against others or for them to change their behavior or back away from a conversation. Let them live their lives. If you are triggered, it's showing you where all the work is. And maybe it's time to get into some therapy. If you feel like you're quote unquote too sensitive and easily triggered, it might be that you need a little extra support. So reach out and get that. We're going to have some resources posted at the end of the show for those that need some extra care, love, and support. We'll be back tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. As always, thanks for hanging out with me, and you all have a beautiful, beautiful night.